Red Eldrazi. Now, the green-red Eldrazi is more of a ramp deck, as you know. However, last weekend, not a very good performance for that deck.
No, and you know, it's possible a function that the games were just over too fast. Pretty aggressive format week one.
An Evolving Wilds for Funkhouser, and now a Forest. For Demars, it's a Plains. And now another Plane. So it'll be a slow start here for Brian. Now, what's going on in this mono white Eldrazi deck? Give us an idea.
It's a bigger kind of good stuff deck. You have Archangel, Avacyn, Raven the Spectre, Archangel of Ties, Eldrazi Displacer, White of the Night Orchid. So a lot of synergies with the Displacer. Controls combat on the other side of the table. A lot of these creatures are very good to be phasing out, have enter the battlefield triggers and so forth. Silk Wrap, Declaration Stone, Gideon, and Stasis Snare. So a lot of the good broad strokes, exiling removal that White has access to, the quality mid-range threats.
A Jotty offshoot here from Funkhouser. He will pass the turn now. For Demars, Knight of the White Orchid's going to let him search up a land. There's a basic Plains for Brian. Brian, someone we saw really set the paces of a format when we were in Indianapolis a little while ago last year, winning that open with a Tarka Red.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Demars was picking this deck to have a very good matchup against mono white humans. He can interact early, and just pound for pound, his creatures are a lot better.
There's a Caves of Koilos, and now just a passing of the turn by Brian. Back over to the Funkhouser. This is going to be an easy match to call. I just get to keep saying Funkhouser. This is wonderful. Here's an Explosive Vegetation for Funkhouser. He's going to gain some life here thanks to the Jotty offshoot. Search for a couple of lands. And as we know with this deck, once it gets into a lot of mana territory, we're talking World Breakers, we're talking Dragonlord of Tarka, Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, some other big spells as well. Though, noticeably lacking because of the rotation. Ugin no longer with us.
No, and that's a big loss. Ramping into Ugin would be excellent against these mono-white human strategies, certainly.
Yeah, your biggest payoff right now is the one Ulamog that Funkhouser is working with. Take a look at the sideboard. I'm seeing if he's got any other crazy payoffs. He does have a couple copies of Tireless Tracker, Void Winnower, Conduit of Ruin, Bane of Balaged. So some pretty sweet stuff going on here, but it's really based around ramping into Ulamog. And the hope that World Breaker is very good. As here's a Thought-Knot Seer from Demars.
And it looks like Funkhouser here, all dressed up and nowhere to go. Yep. A lot of ramping, no payoff card.
Kozilek's Return, Sanctum of Ugin, and I believe a Clip Wings. That's the grip, as Demars will pass the turn back. So for Funkhouser, he's got to draw a good one. There's a Sanctum of Ugin. He'll gain a life. That is the Deathcap Cultivator. New mana accelerant from Shadows over Innistrad. But that's it for Funkhouser. Back to Demars we go. He'll draw a card. A little 2-1. That's black or green. If you have Delirium, a little Death Touch action.
And Delirium's, the Death Touch here is not a small bonus here. 2 mana creatures often get worse later on in the game. So Death Touch is a big keyword to add to something like this.
A Reality Smasher here from Brian. He's going to serve in with all of his creatures. You see these colorless lands, they all tap for white, of course, in case of Koilos and Battlefield Forge, but they are enablers for Thought-Knot Seer and for Reality Smasher.
Yeah, it's helpful to think of Battlefield Forge as a different sort of dual land. You would like to play as many copies of Caves of Koilos as you get your hands on, but you're restricted to the 4. So Battlefield Forge is your backup. Plains plus specifically colorless dual land.
Just a land from Funkhouser and a passing of the turn. We're going to head back to Mars' way. Kind of showing the power of what the Eldrazi can do. We saw a lot of players try this last weekend. A white-black Eldrazi from the Roanoke crew. Eric Emo having the best success with the deck. And his top 4 finish.
High quality removal and the high quality Eldrazi threats.
And what can you ask for? Not a lot of synergy.
Yeah, just all brute force. Displacer's got some combo elements to it in this deck, but I think that's secondary to just good mid-range play with disruptive power.
Looks like Reality Smasher coming in. How about all of them again? Knight of the White Orchid will be blocked. A bunch of damage will come through. Does Demars, have a healthy follow-up? And how much does he want to ramp here? How much does he want to drop onto the board? Because there is always the fear of Triangular Tarka, Chandra, Ulamog, stuff like that.
Well, the question I think that's happening now with Demars is he knows that Funkhouser's got nothing going on. Does he play the Thought Knot Seer, knowing that if Funkhouser finds an answer, suddenly he's drawing a bunch of cards? Does he just need to take the risk here and get that body into play?
Well, he says yes. He's going to take the Clip Wings. And now Andrew will draw a card. Did he find something that does anything? That's the question. Chandra, for example, would be pretty good right now. He's lined up 6 mana. And maybe a little bit more than 6. Well, he found something in World Breaker. That'll allow him to sacrifice the Sanctum of Ugin if he'd like, and maybe start chaining World Breakers, but is it too late?
Well, the World Breaker is not that great of a card right now, assuming that Demars has one of his many exiling effects. It's not that robust here. And Funkhouser is very close to just being killed via attacks. So World Breaker is certainly a better than average draw. Not clear it's going to be enough to catch Funkhouser up.
Another World Breaker has been searched for by Funkhouser. And we're going to be heading Demars' way. We'll see if he's got the time removal spells. He draws a card, and it looks like he's already got Declaration of Stone in hand. Draws a Plains for the turn, does Brian. Plains is the play. Hidden Dragon Slayer also in hand.
Yeah, a bunch of good options here.
Yeah. Hidden Dragon Slayer, a card we're seeing a lot more of right now. Not going to play a ton of copies, but enough to make it worth it. As he'll morph it, un-megamorph it. Goodbye, World Breaker. Give that Lifelinker a counter. And here come the beatdowns.
So I think Funkhouser's only block here is double chump on the Thought Knot Seers. I think that's the only way he can stay alive.
Fall down to 1.
Yeah. And at that point, World Breaker is certainly not enough to catch him up. It's just another big avalanche rider, and Demars has way too much on the battlefield.
You see the blocks. The creatures will bite the dust. We'll head back Funkhouser's way. He might be on a no-outer right now. He'll draw. And that is going to do it. Brian Demars is going to win this match here over Andrew Funkhouser. 2-0. A battle of Indianapolis champions. But it goes to the player on the right, and Brian Demars, and he'll start his tournament here in Columbus at 2-0.
And I think that's a problem right now with the Eldrazi decks. As you mentioned before, Ugin's no longer an option. Most of the payoffs that you're building to are large creatures. Some of them have very good enter as the battlefield triggers. But the white decks are so well equipped to just exile random big stuff that if your payoff's just all large creatures, a lot of times you're going to fall behind on the board. And even if you get a little bit of value out of your World Breaker or even something like Ulamog, may not be able to catch you back up.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem, right? You're talking about all these